to the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We are located on the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. Today is the 5th of April. It's Thursday. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and your radio hosts today are Clark and
Nancy.
We will be reading the news for today's edition of the Fayetteville Observer.
We're going to begin with your weather. Woo, it's a little bit colder this morning, isn't it? We're going to have a high today of only 64, but it's beautiful, mostly sunny and cooler. Tonight it will drop down to 42, clear to partly cloudy. And tomorrow we'll have a high of 76, a low of 60, partly sunny and warmer. And moving to Saturday, we're going to have a high of 77, a low of 35, showers and a heavy thunderstorm. Going to Sunday, it's going to be partly sunny and cooler. We'll have a high of 56 and a low of 41. And Monday, high of 57, a low of 47. Thunderstorms possible in the afternoon. Going to Tuesday, we'll have a high of 66 degrees, a low of 39, a strong afternoon thunderstorm possible. And Wednesday, we'll have a high of 63, a low of 39, and it's going to be partly sunny. So there's your weather for today from the Fayetteville Observer. Today is Thursday, April 5th, 2018.
Today in history. Today is Thursday, 5 April 2018, and it is the 95th day of this year. There are 270 days left in the year. Today's highlight: on April 5th, 1764, Britain's Parliament passed the American Revenue Act of 1764, also known as the Sugar Act, which was repealed in 1766. In 1792, President George Washington cast his first veto, rejecting a congressional measure for apportioning representatives among the states. On today's date in history, in 1887, Anne Sullivan achieved a breakthrough as her 6-year-old deaf-blind pupil, Helen Keller, learned the meaning of the word water as spelled out in the manual alphabet. On today's date in history, in 1915, Jess Willard knocked out Jack Johnson in the 26th round of their fight in Havana, Cuba, to claim boxing's world heavyweight title. That was Jack Johnson in the 26th round. I don't think they go 26 rounds anymore. I think it's only 10. On today's date in 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an executive order creating the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, and an anti-hoarding order that effectively prohibited private ownership of gold. On today's date in history, in 1955, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill resigned his office for health reasons. And birthdays for today, on the 5th of April, movie producer Roger Corman, he is 92. Country singer Tommy Cash is 78. Actor Michael Moriarty is 77. Pop singer Alan Clark of the Hollies is 76. Actor Max Gale is 75. Singer Agnetha Faltkog of ABBA is 68. I'll try to say that name 10 times fast. Actor Mitch Pileggi is 66. Rock musician Mike McCready of Pearl Jam, he's 52. Actress Krista Allen is 47. Rapper-producer Pharrell Williams is 45. Rapper-producer Juicy J is 43. Actor Sterling K. Brown is 42. And country singer-musician Mike Eli of the Eli Young Band is 37. And those are the birthdays for today.
All right, need to know. The FSU Planetarium from the Fayetteville State University Planetarium is going to hold a public viewing session this Saturday with telescopes set up on the soccer field off Langdon Street on the campus. This event starts at sunset and runs until 9:30 p.m. It will be canceled if skies are cloudy. The event kicks off a program of free public viewings that will be held at FSU the first Saturday of every month, weather permitting. And we have an African Children's Choir. The African Children's Choir is scheduled to perform today at 7 p.m. at Lewis Chapel Missionary Baptist Church, 5422 Rayford Road. The concert is free and open to the public. An offering will be taken to support the choir's programs in education and relief and development. 3. Happiness Yoga. Attend a Happiness Yoga seminar Saturday. Learn about the effects of pharmaceuticals on mental health. Dr. Antonio Cuzzi is the speaker. Do you remember Dr. Cuzzi, Clark?
Yes, I remember Dr. Cuzzi.
The program also will include information about how exercise and physical activity can improve a person's alertness and energy, and a segment on healthy foods. The free event is 9 to 11 a.m. at the Kiwanis Recreation Center, 352 Devers Street. If you need more information, you can call 867-0070. And number 4, we have a documentary screening. The Airborne and Special Operations Museum Foundation, in conjunction with the UNC TV, will show a special documentary, G.I. Jews, Jewish Americans in World War II, in the Museum Theater at 6 p.m. Tuesday. The show is free and open to the public, but attendance is limited to 250. The documentary tells the story of the 550,000 Jewish men and women who served in World War II. For more information, call the museum at 643-2774 or 643-2778. Now listeners, we want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email your calendar at fayobsever.com or fax details to 486-3545. For questions, call 486-3500.
And here are some articles about news in brief. A shooting victim shows up at a hospital. The Cumberland County Sheriff's Office is investigating a reported shooting that happened Wednesday afternoon between Parkton and Hope Mills. The victim, who has not been identified, was shot in the leg, said Lieutenant Sean Swain, a Sheriff's Office spokesman. The victim sought treatment at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. Hospital personnel notified the Sheriff's Office, said Lieutenant Sean Swain. The shooting happened at Muscat in Brisson Roads, which is about 3.5 miles north of Parkton. The victim's vehicle was found in Robeson County on Chasen Road near Lumber Bridge, about 6 miles from where the shooting occurred. The time of the incident was not known. Detectives are still investigating into the night Wednesday. And 3 were killed in Robeson, wreck identified. Lumberton. 3 occupants of a vehicle who died on the 28th of March in a wreck on US 501 in Robeson County last week have been identified, the Highway Patrol said. They are Catherine Ashley Crutchfield Hall, age 35, of Roanoke, Virginia, and her children, Cyane Crutchfield Hall, age 10, and Tajma Crutchfield Hall, age 13. Ashley Crutchfield Hall was driving a 2018 Kia rental car, and she crossed the center line and slammed head-on into a Ford Mustang, which killed its driver, Christopher George Locklear, age 44, of Presley Lane in Laurenburg. The Kia ran off the left side of the road, hit a ditch, and then caught fire. The bodies were sent to the state medical examiner's office in Raleigh for a positive identification. And last little piece in the news in brief, 2 are indicted for illegal re-entry into the United States of America. 2 men living in the Cape Fear region have been indicted by a federal grand jury for illegal entry of a deported alien, according to a release from the Raleigh office of the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina. Daniel Luis Perez Flores, age 34, of Mexico, and Orlando Echeverria Hernandez, age 40, of El Salvador, are among 6 illegal immigrants to be named in the indictment, the release said. Perez Flores, who was found in Sampson County, has been deported 5 times, ladies and gentlemen. 5 times, the release said. While Echeverria Hernandez, who was found in Cumberland County, has been deported just only 1 time. If they are convicted, they face a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison, a $250,000 fine, and supervised release after any active sentence. And these are your 3 news pieces in brief from the Fayetteville Observer today.
All right, now this article is written by Nancy McCleary. She's a staff writer. The title is Deputies Say Woman Hid the Sex Offender. And we have a picture of Bianca Page and Clayton Page. Fayetteville woman is accused of lying to authorities about the location of a registered sex offender who was hiding in the attic of her home at the time, according to an arrest warrant in the Cumberland County Magistrate's Office. Bianca Lachey Page, age 26, of the 2600 block of Dumfries Drive, was charged Wednesday with withholding information from or failing to notify law enforcement about a sex offender's non-compliance with the sex registry laws. On April 1st, deputies from the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office came to her home to locate Clayton Allen Page, age 26, who lived at the residence, for violating the sex offender registry by failing to report a change of address, the warrant said. Bianca Page told the deputy he was not at home when he was hiding in the attic, the warrant said. She also is accused of failing to notify the sheriff's office that Clayton Page was living at her home, which was within 1,000 feet of a child care center, which is a violation of the sex offender registry. Clayton Page was arrested the same day, charged with several offenses including breaking and entering to terrorize, violating domestic violence protective orders, and a probation violation. He remains in the Cumberland County Detention Center with bail set at $160,500. Bail for Bianca Page was set at $5,000. Now, staff writer Nancy McCleary can be reached at nmmcleary@fayobserver.com, or you may call her at 486-3568.
And now we have a little article here titled don't feed the geese. There's a great big picture here with a woman standing there overlooking the new Hope Mills Lake, watching geese and what appears to be a little seagull flying around in the sky. It says, Sarah Rourke stands on the shore of Hope Mills Lake while geese and seagulls wait for her bread that she's going to toss towards them on Wednesday. The Hope Mills officials are now concerned about lakeside contamination.
Uh-oh.
This was written by Steve Devane, a staff writer for the Fayetteville Obsever. Hope Mills, the highly anticipated return of the Hope Mills Lake has brought with it some unwanted geese. Now, town officials are trying to figure out how to chase them off. Well, probably the easiest way, Nancy, to chase them off is to drain the lake.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Town commissioners discussed the geese problem at their meeting Monday. Rod McLean, chairman of the Lake Advisory Committee, said waste from the geese could contaminate the lake's swimming area. There's also concern that the geese will get so used to being fed by lake goers that they may attack people passing by that are carrying food. Because, geese are hungry all of the time. Lake Advisory Committee Chairman Rod McLean said town officials should enforce a town law that prohibits feeding the geese. We have to put a stop to it, and we have to put a stop to it now, said Rod McLean. Sarah Rourke said she didn't know about the law. She wanted her two children, Derek, age 12, and Alex, age 7, to enjoy the warm weather on Wednesday, which was yesterday, so she offered to bring them to Hope Mills Lake, the new one. The boys wanted to know if they could go swimming in the lake. No, she said, but she offered to let them feed the geese. They stopped by a store and bought the cheapest, biggest loaf of bread they could find and then headed off to the lake. The boys stood on the shore and threw great big chunks of bread to the geese with their mother and their grandfather, Dennis Rourke. Sarah Rourke said Wednesday was the first time the family had come to the lake to feed the geese. I just did it because I was doing it when I was a child growing up. If it's illegal, well, we won't be doing it again. And Dennis Rourke agreed. We've got to do what is right, he said. Gary Travis, who owns a company in Charlotte called Goosebusters, with his wife Tatiana, said the geese are attracted to areas where people feed them. And of course, the geese also know they are less likely to run into predators in populated areas. Gary Travis's company, Goosebusters, uses border collies that are taught to approach the geese in a stalking type fashion. The geese start thinking there's a predator that lives there and they start looking for another place to live, said Gary Travis. Typically, the numbers go down and they go down slowly. Gary Travis, who owns a company in Charlotte called Goosebusters, said in his experience, other methods of getting rid of geese are not as effective. The State Wildlife Resource Commission's website suggests using fencing near the shoreline to make it harder for geese to get onto the land. Shimmering reflective tape can frighten and disperse the birds, said the site. Other options are overhead lines and exploding devices, the commissioner says, that they might use. Chemical repellents are generally ineffective, says this wildlife resource website. The commission's website, which is the Wildlife Resource Commission's website, Also suggests shaking goose eggs so they do not hatch. Gary Travis said his company puts corn oil on the eggs that has the same effect. Gary Travis said that the method and others used by his company are recommended by PETA and the Humane Society. And I believe PETA stands for People Against Unethical Treatment of Animals. We don't do anything that harms the geese in any way, said Gary Travis, who owns a company in Charlotte called Goosebusters. Hope Mills Mayor Jackie Warner said a post on her Facebook page about not feeding the geese has gotten about 1,200 views. She said the town also has an issue with seagulls. On Wednesday, about 20 geese and about 50, that's right, count them, 50 seagulls were on the lake. When the Rourkes, and those were the people that were feeding the geese, seagulls were flying in the area and would occasionally swoop down to get pieces of bread that they threw into the air to watch the aerial fun. Jackie Warner, the mayor of Hope Mills, said the town put up signs about not feeding the birds. Several signs were at the lake, but none were in the area where the Rourkes were tossing bread to that giant loaf of bread, that, by the way, to the geese. Jackie Warner said the town might consider putting a sign up in that area. We are going to have to enforce it to get people to stop feeding the geese. Neil. If you would like to talk to Steve Devane about this article and the problem with the geese and seagulls at the Hope Mills Lake, you can call him at 910-486-3572.
All right. I kind of love to feed the geese myself, you know.
We go to BJ's where they have that little drainage ditch there behind the, right in front of them. And they're always there, and we also go in and buy a cheap, gigantic loaf of bread and feed them.
Hungry.
They have no fear of human beings.
All right, carrying the torch. We have two very nice pictures. One is the Spring Lake Interim Police Chief Troy McDuffie, and he holds up the torch before the start of the Special Olympics of North Carolina 2018 Law Enforcement Torch Run on Wednesday in Spring Lake. And in the bottom picture we have McDuffie. He's leading the runners at the start of the run. Monica Venatuoli writes, Splash Pads Ballpark set to open. 2 ribbon-cutting events for splash pads and a baseball stadium for children with special needs will occur this month, Fayetteville City news release said. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for both the splash pad and inclusive playing field at the Massey Hill Recreation Center, 1612 Camden Road, will be April 14th at 9 a.m. The Buddy Baseball opening ceremony will follow at 9:30 a.m. and the Buddy Baseball games will begin at 10 a.m. The Buddy Baseball program is a non-competitive baseball league for children with disabilities. The inclusive playing field will have features that will make it easy for disabled children to play baseball. More information on that program can be found on the Fayetteville Cumberland Parks and Recreation website at fcpr.us/athletics/adaptive sports 3048. There you go. Carrying the torch.
And on the front page of the Fayetteville Observer, taking center stage of the paper, front page, is titled, this article is titled, Scientists Confirm Gen X is in the River Sediment. Mm-hmm. Yes, Wilmington. A team of University of North Carolina at Wilmington researchers have confirmed that Gen X can be found in the sediment of the Cape Fear River and are confident that they have determined how it is being distributed via rain. Just some of the takeaways of their state-funded research. House Bill 56 allocated $250,000 to UNCW so researchers could study Gen X's presence in sediment and to look at how the chemical degrades in the environment and determine what risks it poses to human health. While the final legislative report was due earlier this week, the work is expected to continue until next year, June 2019. Water research is important here. The pipe is supposedly shut off, but we will still see Gen X in our water. That's where research comes in. We ask questions and we try to answer them, said Brooks Avery, a UNCW chemist who participated in the research. The team developed a method to test for Gen X in the sediment found in 4 separate locations along the Cape Fear River and believes it has proven Gen X is being detected in rainwater because of the emissions of related chemical that is part of the manufacturing process at Chemours Fayetteville Works facility. A separate UNCW team showed that juvenile oysters died at higher rates and filtered less water when the juvenile oysters were exposed to Gen X at levels of 100 parts per billion. But the chemical did not accumulate in them at high levels. Something's being taken up into the oysters, but it's not bioaccumulating. So they are filtering it in, but they're also releasing that, said Andréan Bourdelet, a research associate professor at UNCW Center for Marine Sciences. UNCW's report also said that while 1 to 2 juvenile oysters died at each of the no Gen X 1 parts per billion or 10 parts per billion levels, 9 of the 36 juvenile oysters died at 100 parts per billion levels. Next, the team plans on collecting oysters from the Cape Fear River to determine if Gen X is found in their tissue. That might be unlucky for some oyster eaters in that area. Jim Fletcher, CFPUA's executive director, was still reviewing the report. They are just more pieces of the puzzle. Certainly, having it be detected in the rainwater and having it detected in sediments helps us understand other sources of these contaminants. While Gen X results in drinking water are declining, they have not yet reached zero. The Cape Fear Public Utility Authority's CFPUA most recent results, for instance, showed that Gen X at 24 parts per trillion, and there has long been speculation that the chemical may be re-entering the river from the sediment. Sediments are acting such like a repository of Gen X that may be released into the overlying water column, potentially impacting sensitive estuarine ecosystems as well as drinking water utilities, even if it is no longer being released into the environment, said this report. As part of their upcoming research, the UNCW team said it plans to, in May, begin a year-long experiment looking at how the chemical biodegrades in sediment. The team's researchers did caution against comparing the amounts of Gen X found in sediment to other measurements, such as the state's 140 parts per trillion drinking water health goal. UNCW also tested rainwater samples to determine if Gen X showed up there. When it did, they alerted the state and then tried to figure out where the Gen X was coming from. Ultimately, the scientists determined that while Gen X itself isn't being spread through the air, a chemical that rapidly turns into Gen X when mixed with water likely is coming from Chemours smokestacks. Pam Seaton, the chair of UNCW's Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, said, "The precursor to Gen X at Chemours is what's called an acid fluoride, and when it touches the water, it turns into Gen X. What they emit, apparently, through the smokestacks at Chemours is the acid fluoride. We could actually see within minutes the precursor being converted directly into Gen X, which then is wherever the rain takes it to." Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, officials have ordered Chemours to better control air emissions at the site, with the company responding by informing the state of its intention to install a thermal oxidizer unit at the facility. Representative Ted Davis, a Republican in New Hanover County, said via text messages that he had not yet reviewed the report, but he does expect researchers to be in attendance at the April 26 meeting of the House Select Committee on the North Carolina River Quality. Representative Ted Davis, a Republican from New Hanover, says that he intends to include presentations on the final reports by the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, the CFPUA, and the Collaboratory at UNC Chapel Hill. If you have any questions about this article, you may contact Adam Wagner. Adam Wagner wrote this article, and he can be reached at 910-343-2389, or you can email him at adam.wagner@gatehousemedia.com. And now I see that it is 10:33 in the morning on Thursday, on the 5th of April, 2018. I would like to tell you that this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service. It is a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University. Our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations, and we request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28303. If you have any questions or comments about what you've heard today, please call us at 910-672-1600 or call the toll-free number 844-709-5656. Your radio hosts today are Clark and
Nancy.
And we are proud to serve you today.
Now we're going to go over these splash pads that are going to be open soon. A ribbon cutting for the splash pad at Myers Recreation Center on Rochester Drive is April 21st at 10 a.m. Ribbon cutting ceremonies are free. They're open to the public. Both splash pads were paid for by Fayetteville's $35 million Parks and Recreation Bond. 2016, the bond was approved by the voters. Additional projects voted by the bond will include senior centers and a skateboard park. The inclusive playing field for special needs students are not paid for by the bond. Fayetteville Cumberland County Parks and Recreation also operates splash pads at the Kiwanis Recreation Center at 352 Deaver Street and the Spivey Recreation Center at 500 Fisher Street. The city held the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Kiwanis Recreation Center splash pad, which was paid for by the bond last August. All of the Parks and Recreation Department's splash pads will open May 1st and close September 30th. Admission is free to all of the splash pads. They will be open during the following time periods: Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 3 to 6 p.m. when school is in session at Spivey and Massey Hill, Sunday from 2 to 6 p.m. Now, staff writer Monica Venituoli can be reached at mvenituoli@fayobsever.com, or you may call 486-3596.
In your public safety, Cumberland County and arrests. Eric Christopher Crumpler, age 29, of the 600 block of DeVoe Avenue, was charged Wednesday with 2 counts each of breaking and entering, larceny, and possessing stolen property. Eric Christopher Crumpler's bail was set at $20,000. Andreco Royce de Monta Pointer, age 24, of the 1900 block of Powell Street, was charged Wednesday with manufacturing cocaine, maintaining a drug dwelling, possessing cocaine with the intent to sell and deliver, possessing a controlled substance with intent to manufacture, sell, and deliver, and misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Andreco Royce de Monte Pointer's bail was set at $20,000. Dylan Rasan Paul, age 33, of the 3400 block of Beckford Lane, was charged Wednesday with obtaining false property by false pretense. Dylan Rasan Paul, age 33, his bail was set at $5,000. Joe Louis Hernandez Jr., age 39, of the 700 block of Hillsborough Street, was charged Wednesday with violating the sex offender registry guidelines by being on a protected premises. He is accused of entering Spring Lake Middle School. Joe Louis Hernandez Jr., his bail was set at $10,000. And for break-ins in Cumberland County, on Cornell Drive, it was reported at 6:22 p.m. on Monday that gas cans and chainsaws were taken. On George Owen Drive, it was reported at 7:47 p.m. Monday that nothing was stolen or reported missing. And in Wade, Goldsboro Road, it was reported at 8:28 p.m. on Monday that thyroid medication was taken. Lastly, there's one theft in Cumberland County. On Angie Drive, Michael Jean Shue reported at 6:44 p.m. on Saturday that 10 guns were missing from his home on Angie Drive. The missing weapons included 2 semi-automatic pistols, a revolver, 5 rifles, and 2 shotguns. And that is your public safety announcement from the Fayetteville Observer today on the 5th of April, 2018.
All right, this is a study reported by Marilyn Marcione from the Associated Press. Slimming by age 13 cuts diabetes risk. There may be a critical window for overweight kids to get a healthy level. Those who shed their extra pounds by age 13 have the same risk of developing diabetes in adulthood as others who would never weigh too much, a large study of Danish men found. Diabetes can develop when the body can't properly use insulin to turn their food into energy. Being overweight at any age raises the chances of the most common form, type 2. But it's not known whether or how much that risk is reduced if people lose weight and when. This study seems to suggest that overweight in adolescents is particularly harmful and that reversing it by then can do a lot of good, said Dr. Stephen Daniels, pediatrics chief of the University at Colorado School of Medicine in Denver. He had no role in the study, which was led by researchers at the University of Copenhagen, sponsored by the European Union and published Wednesday by the New England Journal on Medicine. If involved, 62,565 men in Denmark, where mandatory school and military service exams enabled tracking their health for decades. Heights and weights were measured between when they were 7, 13, and in between 17 and 26. National health records were used to see how many developed diabetes in adulthood. Men who were overweight at age 7 but weren't by age 13 had similar odds of diabetes later in life as men who'd never been overweight. Those who were overweight only at 13 or only at 7 and 15 had a lower risk than those who stayed overweight throughout young adulthood but had a higher risk than men who'd never been overweight. There are hopeful results that show there are benefits if parents can help chubby kids grow into a healthy weight, said Stephen Gortmaker, a childhood obesity researcher at the Harvard School of Public Health. If you can slow the rise of obesity in very young children, you have a chance of really preventing future cases of diabetes. Why might the 10 years matter so much? At adolescence, you become more insulin resistant, just sort of a natural part of puberty, Daniels explained.
One person was killed and one person was injured in a Robeson County motorcycle crash. In Lumberton, a motorcyclist was killed and his passenger injured Tuesday on US 74 alternate near Lumberton minutes after eluding a traffic stop, the Highway Patrol said. The wreck happened at 2:51 p.m., according to a report filed by Sergeant R.D. Wright. State Trooper J.N. Bullard spotted Garrett Kane Goolsby, age 35, of Deep Branch Road in Lumberton. He was operating a Suzuki Hayabusa and attempted to stop him for speeding. Garrett Kane Goolsby's estimated speed was between 100 and 125 miles an hour, a Highway Patrol spokesman said. The Hayabusa is rated as one of the fastest street bikes on the market and travels up to 184 miles an hour, according to a review on topspeed.com. Garrett Kane Goolsby failed to stop, and after about 5 minutes, Trooper J.N. Bullard lost sight of the motorcycle and the driver and passenger and discontinued his pursuit. Minutes later, Trooper J.N. Bullard was flagged down and told by a driver who witnessed that the motorcycle had crashed. Garrett Kane Goolsby had been traveling south and was coming out of a slight curve on the road when the motorcycle crossed into the northbound lane. The motorcycle struck a guardrail, and then the motorcycle and the passengers landed in a ravine. Garrett Kane Goolsby, age 35, and his passenger, Miranda Marie Deese, is 36 years old, of Maxton, they were thrown from the motorcycle. Garrett Kane Goolsby was pronounced dead at the scene. Miranda Marie Deese was airlifted to McLeod Regional Medical Center in Florence, South Carolina. She suffered severe injuries to her lower extremities, the spokesman said. Nancy McCleary wrote this article. If you would like to discuss this article with her, you may call her at 910-486-3568.
Right on the opinion page, what did cause the 60s riots? Megan McArdle. 50 years after the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was gunned down in Memphis, the scars of the riots that followed are only now fully healed in Washington. In other cities, they still aren't. And we still don't know exactly what happened. For that matter, why the 1960s as a whole saw more rioting than decades before or since. What we can say with some confidence is that we can't simply explain them as a function of unemployment and poverty. Marxism is an ideological theory that was crushed when the Berlin Wall fell in 1989. But as a method of analysis, it still thrives. Modern thought has a tendency toward economic reductionism, viewing every historic problem as a mechanical working out of underlying economic processes, and every solution in those terms. After the 1960s riots, government leaped in with public housing and economic redevelopment programs that did little to stem the decline of riot-haunted cities. After 9/11, we heard anguished discussions about poverty and economic stagnation in the Middle East. And when the United States elected Donald Trump president, reporters circled old factory towns like vultures, feasting on images of rusted-out manufacturing plants that should be fed to readers as the reason behind the political upheaval. Now, we can learn on economics because, unlike disaffection, it's relatively easy to quantify, and unlike systematic racism or rural-urban cultural divide, it feels like something that government policy can address. We are the proverbial drunks looking for our keys under the lamppost instead of where we drop them, and somehow we are perpetually surprised that we never find what we're looking for. Now, you can reach Megan McArdle. She's a Washington Post columnist and the author of The Upside of Down, Why Failing Well is the Key to Success.
And 4-year terms seem to make sense. Add another governing board that wants to double the length of its terms. The Fayetteville City Council directed city staff Tuesday to look into what's required to change from the current 2-year terms to a staggered 4-year terms. Previous initiatives for the change have failed, but Councilman Larry Wright told his fellow council members Tuesday that he believes there are enough votes to make it happen this time. Staggered 4-year terms would mean only half of the council could turn over in any election, thus providing important continuity. 4 years is also plenty of time for council members to learn the municipal ropes and become a fully functional council member before it's time to start a re-election campaign. With 2-year council terms, freshman council members are still learning the job when it's time for them to start raising money and planning their re-election campaign. The move really has only one serious downside. If the voters make a bad mistake and elect an incompetent council member, the city is stuck with that member for 48 months. On balance, though, we think the longer term has more merits than downsides. Hope Mills commissioners voted on Monday to pursue the same course of action. We hope Fayetteville council members will not make the same mistake Hope Mills did and try to push the measure through without the approval by the city's voters. It is, after all, their government, and they should be able to sign off on a major change.
All right, letters to the editor. Now, do children need better protection? Child welfare in North Carolina has been a growing concern in recent years. North Carolina communities like Cumberland County have experienced increased numbers of children in foster care and a host of reported child deaths related to abuse or neglect. According to a September 2017 Fayetteville Obsever article, more than 11,000 children are living in North Carolina's foster care system. Cumberland County is among a few counties in the state with significantly higher amounts of children placed in foster care. The same article reported in 2015 and 2016 there were 1,233 children assisted by Cumberland County's foster care program. Child abuse and neglect have also contributed to the child welfare crisis. Many North Carolina residents believe that the welfare system must do a better job of protecting minors from abuse or neglect, as well as to allocate more resources toward building healthy families. A 2015 federal evaluation of North Carolina's welfare system found Cumberland County Department of Social Services had an overwhelmingly amount of delays in home visits after abuse or neglect had been reported. Since the 2015 findings, shocking abuse and neglect cases continue to affect North Carolina communities. Residents in Fayetteville believe there needs to be more advocating for vulnerable populations like minors and more funding for state programs aimed at preventing abuse and neglect. Programs such as Break the Chain of Child Abuse, conducted by the Child Advocacy Center, brings awareness and services directly into Cumberland. We need to stand together in advocating and protecting children who are vulnerable and voiceless. This was written by Charmaine Williams of Fayetteville. Now, we welcome your letters. Please write about current topics of general interest. Letters will be edited and cannot exceed 250 words. Include your name, street address, and daytime phone. Your name and hometown will be published. No poetry, open, or anonymous letters. We encourage civility. 4 weeks must elapse between letters from the same writer. Letters must be original by the person who signs the letter and exclusive to this newspaper. Write to editorial page editor, the Fayetteville Observer, P.O. Box 849, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28302. Or you may email at eletters@fayobserver.com.
And we have a cheers and jeers today. A cheer to Realtor Gloria Martinez. She went above and beyond to help my wife and I when we purchased our home. Every time I called Realtor Gloria Martinez, she answered her phone by the second ring. And she advocated for us every single step of the way. She went out of her way to accommodate our every need. She was amazing to work with and provided a level of service that was second to none. Thank you for all that you did for us, Gloria. A Realtor, Gloria Martinez. Signed, Jerry Pollock of Fayetteville.
Okay, now, from the Live Wire and the Observer staff, utility line relocations are delaying the Hope Mills paving. Question: when are they going to finish paving Main Street in Hope Mills in front of Walmart and Lowe's. From NN in Fayetteville. Answer. Andrew Barksdale, a spokesman for the NC Department of Transportation, said relocation of utility lines is delaying the project. The utilities include a Duke Energy line, a fiber optics cable, and a backflow preventer for the water line, Barksdale said. Barksdale said it's difficult to say when the utility lines will be relocated, but the .D hopes to have the project completed sometime this summer. Roger Mullen has a question. I've been on the national do not call list for over 10 years. Recently checked to make sure I'm still there. I am. Recently I have received night and day robo-type calls. How can I stop them? Apparently the do not call list is nonsense. From CD in Fayetteville. Answer. Some businesses and organizations are exempt from the National Registry and still can call you, says the North Carolina Department of Justice. If you get a call from a business that is exempt from the Do Not Call Registry, you can tell them to place you on their internal Do Not Call list. All businesses must stop calling you if you ask them directly, the agency says. If you believe you are getting calls from telemarketers who must comply with the registry, you can file a complaint with the NC Attorney General's office by calling 877-5-no-scam 877-566-7226. Note that telemarketers or robocalls are from scammers, the Justice Department says. Be careful not to share any information with these callers. If you think you or someone you know has been the victim of a telemarketing fraud, please file a complaint with our office, it says. More information is on the DOJ's website at ncdoj.gov/consumer/telephone and do not call, ASPX. Paul Wolverton. Livewire seeks to answer questions of general interest and consumer topics. Initials are used to identify questioners when names are given. Contact Livewire at livewire@fayobsever.com, or you may call them at 486-3516.
Yeah, I've got to say that those robocalls are something else. We can't seem to get rid of them.
I know.
They're always bothering us, and we put our name on the no-call list, and we still continue to get those robocalls.
I know it.
All during the day and night.
Yeah.
They just come.
I know they do.
And it's very irritating.
I agree.
I didn't realize that there were some businesses that were allowed to make robocalls.
It doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem right, but I'd like to say that this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency, and we broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University. And our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on your public donations and we request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. Your radio hosts today are Clark and
Nancy.
And we are proud to serve you today.
Okay, we're going to the obituary section. We're going to the obituary section, the death notices Following deaths have been reported. See upcoming editions of the Fayetteville Obsever for complete obituary information. Cumberland County, Flora Lee Murphy, age 70, of Parkman, Wiseman Mortuary. Carl R. Melvin, 78, of Stedman, Wiseman Mortuary. Bridget E. Jacob, 82, of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. Berlin McLean, 102, of Hope Mills, S&L Funeral Home, Maxton. Kafir Region, Teresa Monroe, age 59, of Charlotte, formerly of Laurinburg, Purcell Funeral Home, Laurinburg. Funerals today: Vigolette, retired Command Sergeant Major Patrick, 89, of Fayetteville. 6 p.m. Visitation only, Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. Burial is at Arlington National Cemetery at a later date. Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. McDuffie Jerome Jerry, age 79, of Clarkton. 2 p.m. Lady of the Snows Church. Burial McKinnon Cemetery, Bladenboro. Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home, Elizabethtown. Hester Thompson Annie Elizabeth of Fayetteville, 1 p.m. Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Burial will be at Cumberland Memorial Gardens, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Monley Mack, age 95, of Laurinburg. 2 p.m. Allen Chapel AME Church. Burial would be at Pankey Family Cemetery in Laurinburg. Purcell Funeral Home, Laurinburg. Herbert J. Dawson, age 90, of Fayetteville, 1 p.m. Kingdom Impact Global Ministries. Burial will be at Rockfish Memorial Park, Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. And Britt Ronald, 70, of Elizabethtown, 11 a.m. Bladen Memorial Gardens, Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home, Elizabethtown. Cumberland County, Willie G. Fox. Mr. Willie G. Fox, age 64, of 524 Braverly Lane, Fayetteville, North Carolina, departed this life on Tuesday, April 3, 2018. Funeral services will be held Friday, April 6th at 2 p.m. in the Wiseman Mortuary. Graham Edmund Lee Hayes, from Fayetteville. Graham Edmund Lee Hayes, age 2, of Rockhurst Drive, Fayetteville, died Saturday, March 31st, 2018. Funeral will be Friday at noon. Simon Temple AME Zion Church. Burial will be at the Rockfish Memorial Park. Herring Funeral Care and Cremations. Patricia Johnson, from Fayetteville. Mrs. Patricia Johnson, age 64, of Fayetteville, died Thursday, March 29, 2018. Funeral will be Saturday at 11 a.m. Northwood Temple. Visitation Colvin Funeral Home Chapel, Friday 5 to 7 p.m. Burial at the Sandhill State Veterans Cemetery, Colvin Funeral Home Chapel. Tommy L. Sandrock, Fayetteville. Tommy L. Sandrock, 70, of Fayetteville, died Sunday, April 1st, 2018. Grave site Saturday, 1 p.m. Lafayette Memorial Park, Ramsey Street. Visitation following the graveside service Saturday, Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Andrew Michael Pogus, from Eastover, age 78, died Sunday, April 1st, 2018. Funeral will be Saturday at noon at St. Anne Catholic Church, with a visitation at St. Anne's 10:45 to 11:45 prior to the service. Saturday, Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. Ashton Jones, Fayetteville, infant, died Friday, March 16, 2018. Memorial will be Saturday, 1 p.m. at the family home. Hearing, funeral care, and cremations. Alvin McNeil, age 61, of Fayetteville, died Saturday, March 31, 2018. Memorial will be Friday at 11 a.m. Covenant Funeral Home.
And in the region and elsewhere, Don Latham. Don Latham announced, it is with great sadness that the family of Don Latham announces his passing after a courageous battle with cancer on Sunday, March 25, 2018, in his 66th year, surrounded by his loved ones. A memorial service will be held at 2 p.m. on Saturday, 7 April 2018, at Adcock Funeral Home, located at 2226, that's 2226 Lillington Highway in Spring Lake, North Carolina, with a visitation from 12 to 1:30 p.m. In lieu of flowers, memorial donations in memory of Don can be made to Levine and Dixon Hospice House in Huntersville, located at 11900 Van Story Drive, Huntersville, North Carolina, 28078. Condolences may be made at AdcockFuneralLandCrematory.com. Mr. James Hinton Marley, age 74, passed away Tuesday, 3 April 2018. The funeral service will be held at 11 a.m. Friday, 6 April at Union Grove Baptist Church, located at 395 Vander Road, Salemburg, with the Reverend Mark Walters and Reverend Paul Honeycutt officiating. The burial will follow in the church cemetery. The family will receive friends from 7 to 9 p.m. Thursday, 5 April, at the Butler Funeral Home, located at 401 West Roseboro Street, Roseboro, and other times at the home of his brother, located at 1846 McPhail Road in Salemburg. Patrick G. Bell, age 55, of 10736 Chastain Pear Drive, Charlotte, formerly of Linden, died Saturday, 31 March 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 1 p.m. at the Cape Fear Conference Room A, located at 25 Beaver Road in Irwin. The viewing will be at the Dafford Funeral Home in Dunn on Thursday from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. The burial will be at the Faith Tabernacle Church Cemetery, located at 1741 Rayner McClam Road in Linden. The Dafford Funeral Home of Dunn has been entrusted with those funeral services. Howard Carr Hobbs, 89, of Clinton, died Monday, 2 April 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 2 p.m. at the Grove Park Baptist Church. The visitation will be 1 hour prior to the service. The burial will be at the entombment at Clinton Cemetery, and the Royal Hall Funeral Home has been entrusted with those funeral services. Jerome Jerry Anthony McDuffie, age 79, of Clarkton, died Friday, 30 March 2018. The funeral will be on Thursday at 2 p.m. at the Lady of Snows Catholic Church. The visitation will be at the Bladen's Gaskin Funeral Home on Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The burial will be at the McKinnon Cemetery, and the Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home has been entrusted with those funeral services. Winelda June Bishop, age 80, of White Oak, died Tuesday, 3 April 2018. The memorial will be on Sunday at 11 a.m. at the White Oak Baptist Church in White Oak. The Bladen's Gaskin Funeral Home has been entrusted with those funeral services. Angela Vanessa Williams, age 57, of 3667 Holly Grove Road in Dunn, died Saturday, 31 March 2018. The funeral will be on Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Dafford Funeral Home Chapel, located at 707 East Edgerton Street in Dunn. The viewing will be at the Dafford Funeral Home, located at 707 East Edgerton Street in Dunn on Friday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The burial will be at the Rest Haven Cemetery in Dunn. The Dafford Funeral Home of Dunn has been entrusted with those funeral services. Anna Lee Bushhay Barefoot, age 69, of Dunn, died Monday, 2 April 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 2 p.m. at the Skinner and Smith Funeral Home Chapel. The visitation will be at the Skinner and Smith Funeral Home on Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The burial will be at the Corinth Free Will Baptist Church. Horace Hanson Peterson, age 80, of Clinton, died Wednesday, 4 April 2018. There will be a graveside service on Friday at 1 p.m. at the Mount Gilead Baptist Church Cemetery, located at 3949 Tyndall Bridge Highway in Clinton. The visitation will be immediately following the service in the Church Fellowship Hall. The Royal Hall Funeral Home has been entrusted with those funeral services. Carthelia Smith, age 75, of Lumberton, died Sunday, 1 April 2018. The funeral will be on Saturday at 1 p.m. at the House of Prayer. The visitation will be at the Colvin Funeral Home on Friday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. The burial will be at the Cade Cemetery. Colvin Funeral Home has been entrusted with those funeral services. Doris May Parker, age 80, of Clinton, died Wednesday, 4 April 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 2 p.m. at the Bethesda Assembly of God. The visitation will be at the Crumpler Honeycutt Funeral Home on Thursday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and the burial will be at the Clinton City Cemetery. Crumpler Honeycutt Funeral Home has been entrusted with the funeral services. Archie Calvin Ward, age 67, of Evergreen, died Saturday, 31 March 2018. The funeral will be on Friday at 1 p.m. at the Heavenly Holiness Temple Church in Evergreen. The viewing will be at the S&L Funeral Home in Fairbluff on Thursday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. and the burial will be at the church cemetery. S&L Funeral Home of Fairbluff has been entrusted with those funeral services. And this concludes today's obituaries for the 5th of April 2018, Thursday.
Billy Graham, don't ignore God's promise or Jesus' actions any longer. These are from the writings of the Reverend Billy Graham. Question: why were Jesus' followers so discouraged and depressed after his death? Didn't they know he was going to be raised from the dead? From J.H. Answer: you're right, no one could have been more discouraged than Jesus' followers immediately after his death. Confused and dejected by what had just happened, they withdrew behind locked doors, fearful of the future and filled with hopelessness and despair. And yet Jesus had repeatedly told them that although he would be put to death only a few days later, he would be raised from the dead by the power of God. But they didn't understand what he was saying, and they simply refused to believe it. After all, they probably told themselves, no one ever comes back from the grave. The Bible says they didn't even remember his words until after the resurrection. Why is this so important? First, it confirms that Jesus really rose from the dead. Some have tried to explain away the resurrection by claiming the disciples simply talked themselves into believing it, or they had a mass hallucination. But that wouldn't happen to people who were convinced that they'd never see Jesus again. Only later did they realize his promise had been fulfilled. He said to them, "Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." From the book of Luke, chapter 24, verse 39. Second, the disciples' failure to believe what Jesus had told them reminds us of our own failure to believe what God has told us in his word, the Bible. How many times, even today, have you forgotten God's promise to forgive you or to be with you and help you? Don't ignore what Jesus Christ did for you by his death and resurrection, but by faith welcome him into your life today. This is from 2018 Billy Graham Literary Trust, distributed by Tribune Content Agency, LLC.
And a man's decision to keep cancer a secret could affect others. And this is our Dear Abby today. Dear Abby, I am writing in response to the man who wants to keep his cancer prognosis secret until he nears the end of his life. My mother was diagnosed with metastatic lung cancer that had spread to her brain. Her dizziness is how we found out about her prognosis. She did not want to tell anyone for a while, which surprised me because she had always been a drama queen and a hypochondriac. But she ended up telling all. It was the best thing she could have done. The four of us kids were there with her through her treatments. She became much closer to the sister she had spent decades hating. She found out who her true friends were. Our mother lived our mother lived 4 years until she finally passed away in 2006. It is still raw for me, but I'm grateful for the time we had to get closer and share our lives. I hope Keeping takes your advice and tells his friends. If he does, he may find these hard times to be some of his best times. And that's what my mother said. Signed, Claudia in New Jersey. Dear Claudia in New Jersey, thank you for sharing. I opened the question to my readers and, like you, most, but not all, agreed with my answer. So please read on. Dear Abby, as a former cancer patient and licensed therapist, I'd urge Keeping not to share that information if he does not want to. The truth is, not all people who hear the news will be supportive. Some people will avoid him, some will pity him, and others will say amazingly inappropriate and unhelpful things. A prognosis of 2 years is a long time for people to react to him and for him to handle their reactions. I found it stressful to cope with the emotions of others as they reacted to my situation. Until Keeping is ready, he should be cautious about with whom he shares his diagnosis. Signed, Lynn in New York. And the last, Dear Abby. Dear Abby, I was in the same situation, and for me, it wasn't a choice. I felt that I had to tell everyone in our circle about my prognosis. The result was a warm outpouring of support and concern, even from neighbors we barely knew, which particularly helped my wife. I have been very fortunate. My new treatment worked. I am now in remission, and we no longer need the day-to-day support from our friends. But we have wonderful memories of the people who were eager to help us. We have established deeper friendships, and the experience has made us more generous too. Signed, Mike in Oregon. Readers can write to Dear Abby at dearabby.com, or you can mail a letter to her at Dear Abby, Post Office Box 69440, Los Angeles, California 90069.
Okay, let's go to the horoscope for Thursday, April 5th, 2018 by Stella Wilder. Are you born today? If you are almost certain to enjoy success. But there is the slightest chance that a single decision early in your life may actually derail you and make it impossible for you to fulfill your destiny. Aries, March 21st through April 19th. Aries, you can bet that you'll be familiarizing yourself with something new before the day is out. This can be the beginning of an exciting new phase. Taurus, April 20th to May 20th. Taurus, you can combine business and pleasure today, but business, until all is completed, will take precedence. Gemini, May 21st through June 20th. Gemini, you are the target of someone's displeasure, perhaps, but that doesn't mean you must dodge attempts at communication. On the contrary. Cancer, June 21st through July 22nd. It may be up to you today to spread the word to others about something that cannot be avoided any longer. Your leadership points the way. Leo, July 23rd through August 22nd. You're eager to get in a little rest and recreation as soon as possible, but today isn't likely to be that day. Work issues remain pressing. Virgo, August 23rd through September 22nd. Virgo, you want to dedicate yourself to something you know is important to others, even though no one has spoken up just yet. Trust yourself. Libra, September 23rd through October 22nd. The plans you are trying to make depend in large part on your ability to see into the future with clarity. Today you can do that. Scorpio, October 23rd through November 21st. What others are telling you to do today is not likely to be your best choice. But you don't have to be outwardly defiant, do you? Sagittarius, November 22nd through December 21st. Say you can find a way to have your cake and eat it too. But someone who has his or her eye on you knows just what you are doing and why. Capricorn, December 22nd through January 19th. You are adding fuel to a certain conflict without even knowing it. Today you must do a better job of minding your business. And Aquarius, January 20th through February 18th. Before grappling with some pressing concerns, you may be compelled to deal with someone else's, but that teaches you something about your problem. And Pisces, February 19th through March 20th. You cannot function in a vacuum today. You must be willing to interact honestly with others. Some disagreement will be unavoidable. And that is from the 2018 United Feature Syndicate by Wiley.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It is Tongue Twister time, as brought to you by the People's Pharmacy. From Joe and Teresa Graydon. Question: are mail-order medicines ruined by the weather? I read your column concerning pharmaceutical drugs left in a cold mailbox during the winter time. A few years ago, I measured the summer temperatures in our mailbox with an accurate electronic thermometer. I was concerned that my drugs might be damaged by the very high temperatures here in Tempe, Arizona. The mail is delivered in the afternoon, and when the sun hits the mailbox, I am attaching an Excel file of what I found. The temperature of the mailbox was significantly higher than the air temperature. The average daily mailbox temperature between August and October was 121 degrees Fahrenheit. Clearly, those high temperatures could be expected to have some kind of an effect on many prescription drugs. Since doing that project, I stopped having my drugs sent to me by the mail, and now I use an in-store pharmacy. Neither the drug companies nor the Food and Drug Administration seem to provide helpful information when I ask them about this problem. Answer: your spreadsheet is indeed fascinating. On some days, the temperature in your mailbox reached 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That is way outside the acceptable storage range, even for a short period of time. Guidelines for medications generally call for storage of prescription drugs at room temperature, that is, between 68 and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. During shipping, temporary fluctuations are allowed between 59 degrees and 86 degrees Fahrenheit. But even on the coolest days of your 2-month project, your mailbox hit at least 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Some prescription medications could deteriorate rapidly under such conditions, including certain drugs for asthma, diabetes, thyroid, and anxiety. Mail-order pharmacies and the FDA need to address this weakness in our drug delivery system. Question: I went on metformin when my HbA1c went up to 6.2. After 3 months on this drug, it dropped to 5.9. I was nauseated and had stomach cramps at first. A few days later, I started having terrible diarrhea, and then I had heartburn. Now my latest symptom is feeling like my bladder is full, and when I go to empty my bladder, there are just only a few drops of urine. I'll go back soon to have my kidneys and my HbA1c checked. I want to get off this medication to start feeling like myself again. Is there any way to do that? Answer. HbA1c is a good way of measuring your average blood sugar levels over a couple of months. Your levels represented pre-diabetes. Metformin is the most commonly prescribed drug to treat type 2 diabetes. Doctors also may prescribe it to prevent high blood glucose levels from turning into diabetes. Some people cannot tolerate the side effects of this medication. Common adverse reactions include heartburn, gas, diarrhea, nausea, and stomach ache. Kidney function should be monitored as metformin can be dangerous for people with compromised kidneys. You can learn more about metformin and a range of other non-drug approaches to keeping your blood sugar under control in our Guide to Diabetes Management. You should discuss your plans with your doctor. Anyone who would like a copy of Guide to Diabetes Management, please send us $3 in a check or money order with a long number 10 envelope stamped with 71 cents. And it should be a self-addressed envelope to Graydon's People's Pharmacy, number DM-11, Post Office Box 52027, Durham, North Carolina 27717-2027. You can also download the Guide to Diabetes Management on our website, www.peoplespharmacy.com. The time now is 11:33 in the morning. It's Thursday. It's the 5th of April, 2018, and this is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service. It is a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations, and we request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, call us at 910-672-1600 or call the toll-free number 844-709-5656. Your radio hosts today are Clark and
Nancy.
And we are proud to serve you today.
Let's look at the state briefs. Charlotte bids to host the 2020 GOP convention. In Charlotte, North Carolina's largest city, has submitted its bid to host the 2020 Republican National Convention. Charlotte's official proposal comes more than 6 weeks after city officials said they were considering a bid to host the convention. Charlotte hosted the Democratic National Convention in 2012. Mayor Vile Lyles says the Republican National Committee sent a letter in December to Charlotte and other cities suggesting they bid to host the 2020 convention. The bid includes details on how the city would host the meeting, including how it would house all those at the convention and how it would keep them safe. Republican Party Chairman Robin Hayes says he's pleased how members of his party, Democrats and business leaders, are working together to make a strong bid for the convention. Man found shot to death on a city street, Durham. A man has been found shot to death on a city street in North Carolina. Durham police spokesman Will Glenn said in a news release that officers were called shortly before 8 p.m. Tuesday and found the victim lying in a street. Glenn said that the man was pronounced dead at the scene. His name has not been released yet. Police have not released a possible motive. Witnesses said they saw a car drive away from the scene before the officers arrived. No arrests have been made. Police say a woman beaten and held captive in Charlotte. Police say a woman was badly beaten and held captive before officers rescued her. Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Lieutenant Susan Manasseh told a news conference Wednesday relatives reported the woman missing March 26. Manasseh said investigators began a search using license plate cameras, cell phone data, and social media. Officers went to a home where they found the woman's car March 27th. Manasseh says a man the woman was believed to have been dating answered the door, and officers then called out the woman's name, found her there when she made a noise. The woman was hospitalized with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police arrested 35-year-old Yamel Alston on charges including attempted murder, rape, and kidnapping. Alston remains jailed, and online records don't indicate whether he has an attorney. Warrant issued for woman in bus assault. Going to Durham, police have issued a warrant for a woman wanted in connection with an assault on a city bus. Investigators with the Durham Police Department said 21-year-old Nasha Mona Bowser is wanted for attempted first-degree murder, assault on a public transit operator, and injury to property. She is still at large as of Wednesday. According to a news release from police, witnesses says Bowser became angry and threw a soda bottle through a windshield on March 15th. She started to argue with a bus driver. When a passenger tried to intervene, police said she slashed the man's neck with a box cutter and then got off the bus. The man was hospitalized for treatment for injuries that didn't appear to be life-threatening. Okay, the last one from Salisbury. A district attorney says he will seek the death penalty against the adopted father of a teenager who was missing for years before her body was found in South Carolina. The judge presiding over a hearing in Salisbury on Wednesday confirmed the decision by the district attorney's office to try the case against Sandy Parsons as a capital murder case. Sandy Parsons is charged with murder in the death of Erica Parsons, whose body was found in 2016. A grand jury indicted Parsons and his wife Casey in February for multiple charges, including first-degree murder. In 2016, Sandy Parsons led authorities to Erica's body in Chesterfield County, South Carolina. Erica was reported missing in 2013. She has last been seen alive in 2011 when she was 13. That is the Associated Press.
And now a little something of interest. It's called Here, Try This. Amp up your vegetables with umami flavors. The Japanese word for the fifth taste, in addition to salty, sweet, bitter, and sour, is umami. It signifies savoriness or meatiness. Umami flavor is triggered by glutamates, amino acids, naturally found in many foods. Vegetables included. Seasoned with bold, umami-rich ingredients, vegetables can hold their own at any meal. The Parmigiano Reggiano. This is a hard, granular, nutty cow's milk cheese, an umami goddess. Parmesan is a close cousin, but absolutely not the same thing as Parmigiano Reggiano. Use the real deal if you can find it. Grind it into a meal in a food processor or blender. Then add to vinaigrette or steamed cauliflower, broccoli, and or artichoke hearts. Mushrooms. What sounds better sprinkled on a salad? Shaved raw mushrooms or crispy bacon-like mushroom bits. Mushrooms are all about umami, and even more so the more they are concentrated. Opt for intensely cooked mushrooms, roasted at a high temperature or fried or dried, layer roasted portobellos on a BLT, or stuff sauteed mushrooms inside spinach feta omelets. Tomatoes. The more you reduce the tomatoes, the more you intensify their flavor, or combine sun-dried tomatoes in concentrated tomato paste. Add tomato paste to marinara, make a sun-dried tomato pesto, or add minced sun-dried tomatoes to mayonnaise. Slather onto raw or roasted veggie sandwiches. And the last amped up umami flavor is soy sauce and miso. Both are fermented soy products. The former a liquid or latter a paste. Soy sauce options include light super salty, not to be confused with low sodium, dark, richer color, milder flavor, and tamari wheat-free malty. Miso comes in various colors: white, yellow, brown, and crimson. The darker the hue, the longer the fermentation, and the more intense the flavor in miso. Soy sauce is all-purpose, so whatever is already in your refrigerator is fine. You mix the soy sauce with unsalted butter, then toss with boiled or steamed broccoli, flour, asparagus, or green beans, or stir white miso into steamed kale, collards, spinach, or chard.
All right, here's a good tip on how to prevent or treat pink eye. That's right, pink eye. Now our eyes have been pink because of the pollen, but pink eye is different. This is from Deanna Boo Knight from More Content Now. There's a picture of a pink eye that I'm looking at. Pink eye is aptly named. The condition, also called conjunctivitis, is easy to diagnose because it literally causes an eye or the eyes to become pink, red, swollen, and irritated. The good news, however, is that the condition is common and treatable. National Eye Institute estimates 3 million Americans annually contract pink eye, typically caused by a viral or bacterial infection. However, it can also be contracted because of allergies or eye irritants. Those with a weakened immune system are especially susceptible. Pink eye is a highly contagious. Some ways to avoid contracting it are these. 1. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. 2. Avoid sharing towels, pillowcases, washcloths with someone who has pink eye. Avoid touching eyes frequently. Keep your sunglasses on and your eyeglasses clean. Avoid sharing eye makeup and wipes. Clean or dispose of anything that may have been soiled with discharge from infected eyes. And to heal from pink eye, some sort of treatment is necessary. Mild cases do not need prescription medication, but sufferers can get relief from artificial tears and cold packs. NEI points out that if any of the following symptoms are evident, seek medical attention. 1. You have moderate to severe eye pain. You have vision problems such as sensitivity or blurred vision, intense eye redness, worsening symptoms, prolonged symptoms. According to Medical News Today, common medications prescribed by a physician for conjunctivitis are fluoroquinolones, tetracycline, sulfonamides, and chloramphenicol. These are administered in the form of eye drops for adults and ointments for children. So, how to prevent and treat pink eye.
Now we have several support groups for Thursday. We have the Autism Preschool Support Group. It started at 10 a.m., so that's a little past now, but it's the Partnership for Children Resource Center located at 351 Wagner Drive. It's for children ages 5, from birth to 5. Here we have Celebrate Your Recovery. It starts at 7 p.m. at the Northwood Temple House of Hope, located on 4400 Ramsey Street. It is a Christ-centered support group for those of you that have a substance abuse problem. The phone number is 910-488-7474. That's the Celebrate Recovery support group. The Diabetes Management Clinic, it's open from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Better Health of Cumberland County, and it's located at 1422 Bragg Boulevard. If you'd like to know more about this, you may call 910-483-7534. There is another support group called the Adult Female Sexual Assault Survivor Support Group. It starts at 6 p.m. and it runs to 7:30 p.m. That's 6 to 7:30 p.m. Call the Rape Crisis Volunteers of Cumberland County for your location. Here's the number to call, 910-485-7273. For those that have had congestive heart failure, this meeting is at 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. at the Cardiac Rehab Classroom at the Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. You may call 910-615-4809. There is a meeting for gamblers, the Gamblers Anonymous group. It starts at 7 p.m. at the Christ United Methodist Church, located at 3101 Rayford Road. There is no number listed. Just drive by, and there should be a meeting going on there at Gamblers Anonymous at 7 p.m. at the Christ United Methodist Church, located at 3101 Rayford Road. For those of you that need to take off a few pounds, here's Tops. Take off pounds sensibly. The meeting is at 6 p.m. at the Cumberland United Methodist Church. Its number is 1-800-932-8677. That's the Tops meeting at the Cumberland United Methodist Church. Call this 1-800 number, 800-932-8677, or go to the website at www.tops.org. And there are several meeting groups for Alcoholics Anonymous at 7 a.m., noon, 5:30 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. located at 626 Sandalwood Drive. And then there is another meeting at the 604 German Street. That one starts at noon. Then we have the AA Book Study. The AA Book Study is at 7:30 p.m. at the Trinity United Methodist Church located at 6974 on Rayford Road. We also have a care group meeting from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Medical Oncology Waiting Room at the Cancer Center of Cape Fear Valley Health System. The number is 910-609-6791. And the Gibson Cancer Center Support Group, it's at 5 p.m. at the Obie Lee Community Education Room at the Gibson Cancer Center located at 1200 Pine Run Drive in Lumberton. That's the Gibson Cancer Center Support Group. It's located at 1200 Pine Run Drive in Lumberton. For those that are diagnosed with cancers and their caregivers and family, you may call this number at 910-671-5768 or 910-671-5730.
Okay, this nice weather that we've been having might be making you think about building a deck on your home. And this is by Beth Buzinski from nerdwallet.com. So your visions of hosting fancy barbecues and planting elaborate container gardens can come with a big cost. Building a backyard deck. Ready for this? The average cost for a wood deck is about $10,950, according to the remodeling magazines. While a composite deck, typically made of recycled wood, fibers, and plastic, could set you back about $17,668. The report looked at costs nationally for professional installation of a 16 by 20 foot deck with pressure treated joists, a built-in bench, and a planter. Of course, the cost to build a deck on your property could vary wildly depending on size, style, where you live, and who installs it. Knowing deck costs in advance and ways to keep the total price under control can help you build without destroying your budget. The costs. Many factors affect the cost to build a deck, such as level of finish and site preparation, but the price of professional installation always makes up a big chunk of the bill. Knowing this can help prevent sticker shock. While he was a builder, Andrew Wormer, editor of Professional Deck Builder magazine, taught clients the 50-50 rule. For every dollar spent on materials and supplies, expect to spend another dollar to have it installed, he told NerdWallet in an email. And if your contractor quotes a cost per square foot, it's probably for labor and materials combined. In addition to supplies and labor, the climate of the location and slope of your property can also affect the cost to build. Foundations for decks in cold climates are typically more expensive because they need deeper, freeze-proof footings, Wormer said. Sloped sites can create additional expenses but present design opportunities. So, how to save? Keep it simple. Eliminate curves and other fancy design features, and that'll make a difference. But reducing the overall size of the deck is where you'll likely find the biggest savings. Matching deck dimensions to standard lumber, lengths, and using pre-made concrete piers or footings can also reduce costs. Choose wood carefully. Time it right. The warmer months are most popular for deck building, so scheduling your installation in the off-season could be a way to save. And DIY if you dare. If you're confident in your carpentry skills or have friends who are experienced builders, doing it yourself can significantly reduce the cost. Okay, for example, a pro could install an unfinished wood deck and you could do the ceiling, staining, or painting. Ways to save on building a deck.
4 bodies were recovered from a helicopter crash. This came to us from the Associated Press. In Los Angeles, the bodies of 4 crew members were killed when their Marine helicopter crashed during a training mission in Southern California. And those bodies have been removed from the crash site, authorities said Wednesday. The crew members were recovered late Tuesday and taken to a coroner's facility, said Deputy Coroner Derek Lindbergh with the Imperial Valley Sheriff's Office. The Marine Corps will take custody of the bodies to conduct autopsies, said Deputy Coroner Derek Lindbergh. The CH-53E Super Stallion went down Tuesday afternoon in a desert area just outside of El Centro, California, near the U.S.-Mexico border. The cause of the crash is still under investigation. It was pretty much a warm, clear day, said Chief Deputy Thomas Garcia with the Imperial Valley Sheriff's Office. Nothing stormy or rainy or anything like that. The helicopter was with the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing out of Miramar Air Station in San Diego, California. We ask that you keep these brave service members in your thoughts and prayers, said a Facebook post by the nearby Naval Air Facility, El Centro, one of the many agencies that responded to the crash. The names of the crew members were expected to be released later Wednesday, 24 hours after the relatives had been notified, said Captain Morgan Fraser with the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing. She said the squadron involved the crash and other details should be released soon. The CH-53E Super Stallion is the largest helicopter in the U.S. military. It is used for minesweeping and transportation and can carry dozens of troops and tons of cargo. This crash is the deadliest involving a Marine aircraft since a KC-130T transport plane went down in Mississippi last July that killed 15 Marines and a sailor. There's a picture here of the CH-53 Super Stallion, and it was airlifting humanitarian aid to people in Indonesia back in 2009. This article was written by Amanda Lee Myers and Robert Jablon of the Associated Press. The time now is about 11:59 in the morning, and this concludes our broadcast of the Fayetteville Observer. Your radio hosts today have been Clark and
Nancy.
At 2 p.m., please listen to the Southern Pines Pilot. At 4 p.m., you can hear Off the Bookshelf. Additionally, you will hear a rebroadcast of today's Fayetteville Observer tonight at 9 p.m. We will now join the Raleigh Network for additional news of interest. Now, I have a little piece of breaking news that I was just informed just a minute ago by one of our administrators that the 8th annual golf tournament at the Gates for Golf and Country Club for the 7th of this month, 7 April 2018, Saturday at 12 p.m. has been postponed. The date will be revealed to us later today. Thank you for tuning us in. We've enjoyed being with you this morning.